Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com, and this is another Massachusetts journal. I just got back from my high school reunion. We started off at an Asian restaurant, and my best friend went out of her way to make sure that I could eat there too, and they were very accommodating of my vegan diet. I had all sorts of good stuff there. I had really good sushi, some sushi that just had like avocado in it, but I also had some with like daikon radish that was so good, and some really fresh edamame, which surprisingly did not upset my stomach like it usually does. And I had some really good beans and some sort of like garlic sauce. There was like vegetables wrapped up in rice paper. Now, if you watched my video from earlier today, I had been at another restaurant where I was really careful to avoid the Dirty Dozen, which is 12 foods that are the most dirty, meaning that they have the most like chemicals, pesticides on them if they're not organic. But tonight I kind of let that go. I ended up, just because my friend was so accommodating, I decided to have some lettuce, for example, which is part of the Dirty Dozen. And I was really hungry. So again, you know, this is kind of a repetition of my last video, but I think sometimes it's important to let things slide. You know, my diet especially can seem really restrictive, but when there are times where I don't have a ton of options, I'll often make exceptions for that. And I think it's important to do that. You know, if you're going to eat really healthy most of the time, you know, every once in a while your body is in such good shape that you're allowed to cheat, quote unquote. I don't really like to call it cheating, but you're allowed to go off it a little, you know? You're actually allowed to do whatever you want. And that's the thing, you want to remember not to be too dogmatic, or at least in my opinion, you shouldn't be. Because I feel like that creates too much tension and stress is not part of a healthy lifestyle. You want to keep yourself relaxed and balanced, and part of being balanced is allowing, you know, leaving space for times where you're gonna do something that you wouldn't normally do. Just like with anything else, right? If we tell ourselves that we can't do something, sometimes that makes us want to do it even more. Anyways, yeah, I had that was great, and I had several people like really surprised that they were like, wow, I didn't think you were gonna be able to eat anything here. So it was also a great opportunity for me to show that you know, I can be flexible. You know, I can still eat vegan and gluten-free. It was just a good opportunity for me to show that I could have 4 different types of dishes, and there was probably a lot of other things on the menu that I could have had as well. So that involved checking ahead and being flexible, which are both important when you're on a diet that's, you know, a little different than the mainstream. And then after that we went to a party where I had some regular potato chips, and I had a lot of those because they were salty and they tasted amazing. One thing that's hard when you're on any sort of, gosh, I never know what words to use here. I don't like to use the word restrictive, but when you're on, or diet either, I think those words are kind of have more of a negative connotation. When you're trying to eat healthy, I should say, things like potato chips, especially non-organic potato chips and super salty potato chips and oily and all of those foods that really aren't that great for our system if we have them in excess. If they're sitting around and you haven't filled up on the right foods, they're going to seem more tempting. I find that I often will slip up off of my healthy track if I don't eat properly before going out. So a big piece of advice, especially if you're new to a certain type of healthy eating, it's really important to make sure that you have enough food, so enough protein, enough nourishment, enough variety of foods to feel really full and satisfied. Chinese food, you know, is known for not filling people up, and you eat it and then, you know, an hour later you're hungry again. Now that I think about this, I'm pretty sure that this restaurant doesn't use MSG, because this was definitely like a higher end Asian restaurant, but I realized I didn't even think about it. So it's funny because my last video is talking about MSG, and this time it didn't even cross my mind. So again, sometimes you just gotta let things go and have a good time, which I did. I had a great time. I haven't seen any of these high school people for a long time, and a lot of them have actually been watching my videos here. So if any of you happen to be watching, hi again, I'm so glad to see you all. And it was really neat because they were actually really supportive of what I was doing, and I don't think anyone else there was vegan or necessarily into the same type of healthy eating that I am, and they all seemed really interested. Most of them, you know, don't intend to go vegan, but they are really interested in healthy eating, and it really got me thinking about ways that I can inspire that. And I think, I'm still developing my philosophy as somebody that's educating others on the vegan lifestyle, and I feel like I do have this really big focus on healthy eating. That's really important. Animal rights are important to me, and the environment, of course, is very important to me, but ultimately I really gravitate towards healthy eating because that has been such a big part of my life for so long. I really want people to eat healthy first and foremost. So if somebody is not emotionally ready to go vegan, or maybe not physically ready for whatever reason, I think the best thing that they can do, or you can do if you're watching this and looking for advice, is to focus on organic foods, of course. I'm really passionate about that. If not organic, definitely non-GMO, genetically modified. So you want to make sure that this food is pure and it's not being messed with in some sort of laboratory environment. It's hard to avoid these days, unfortunately. So educating yourself on where your food comes from is very important, and getting food from farmers, local farmers. If you can go to a farmer's market, you may be shocked. My parents live in this incredibly small town in Massachusetts, and there's a farmer's market every week at the high school that, local people put together. Now, this is the kind of town that you wouldn't be that surprised that happens here, but there's also probably lots of places around the country, and you can find them online or by word of mouth, so seek out farmers markets. If not, a trusted market is Whole Foods, of course. They may not be entirely vegan, but they do have an incredible selection of organic, local, healthy foods, and there are plenty of other smaller places, co-ops, So yeah, starting, no matter what your diet is, really try to focus on whole foods and organic and local foods, and I think that you'll feel a huge difference. Reducing or cutting out sugar, oil, and salt of your diet is also going to have a profound difference on how you feel. Keeping them as occasional treats is probably the best way to live, and for some people it might mean cutting them out entirely. So give that a shot. I think, what else I realized in some conversations today is that some people are intimidated by or overwhelmed by healthy eating because it seems so far from what they're doing. Best advice I can give is to take it step by step, little by little. If the first step for you is cooking food instead of buying microwave food, or actually it might even be buying freshly prepared food instead of microwave food. And then once your palate adjusts and realize that the taste of microwave food might not be working for you, once you get adjusted to that freshly made food, whether it's at a restaurant or it's in the prepared section of a market, then start focusing on making food, and start with smaller dishes, easier dishes, pastas. There's so many things that you can make in 15 minutes or less, and I promise I'll do more videos on that. That's going to really help you out a lot, and then you can start slowly integrating the local and organic food and the fresh foods, and adding more vegetables to your diet. If you're not ready or interested in cutting out meat or dairy, just try adding in more vegetables, and you'll see a huge difference. I mean, there are people all around the world who eat meat, but in very small portions compared to the American diet. So while there are a lot of arguments that meat and dairy are part of a healthy diet, I feel like they could be if they're had in small portions. And the small portions are also going to make a big difference on your environmental impact, and you'll be harming less animals as well, so that'll be a big difference. And of course, also trying to do a meatless Monday will also help as well, and it won't make the vegetarian way of life so intimidating. I think you'll have a better perspective on it if you realize that you can go one day and without eating meat or dairy. You'll see that it's not that big of a deal, and maybe you'll understand us vegetarians and vegans. So that's it for today. It's 2:30 in the morning. Oh my gosh. Good thing I don't really have much to do tomorrow. Gotta love it. A couple more days left in Massachusetts. Lots of exploring to do. I haven't edited any What a Vegan Eats videos in a few days. I apologize, but I've been recording things for you, so stay tuned. You should definitely subscribe to that channel. It's just What a Vegan Eats, all one word. And stay tuned for more videos from here. Once I get ramped up, I'll start doing my edited videos again, but until then, I'll do more of these video journals. I have a bunch of questions to answer, so I'll get to those soon. And this is Whitney signing off. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.